Okay. Well, hello everyone and good morning and welcome to our Welcome Week presentation with the Designated School Official DSO's office. I am Maurice Brown, the Manager for Student Affairs and Externships with CSI. And my staff are the Student Affairs Advisors. And so you might have already connected with Darian, or you might have already connected with Shamaya or Zakia or Jada. They're all individuals on my team, and we're here to make sure that as you're going through school that we can best support you and make sure that you are getting all the information and resources you need as you're going through school. So I'm really happy that you guys came today to hear the presentation from the DSO's office. And Elizabeth is the advisor or the DSO for Lombard campus. And she's going to be here today talking about what their department does and how you can get a hold of them when it comes to different things you might need when it comes to different international student services. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce Elizabeth and let her take over and talk you guys through the presentation. Elizabeth, are you with us? I think you're mic. Oh, there you go.
I guess you didn't unmute. So once again, good morning, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Turek. I am designated school official at Lombard campus. And I'm so happy to be here this morning and to present important information for you. So we will be talking today about importance of immigration compliance. We will discuss importance of your I20. We will discuss also importance of your information that needs to be updated, travel restrictions, employment as a F1 status, I20 extension, and also importance of 60 days grace period and leave of absence. Please go to next slide. So as you see, example of I20. I20 is a legal document given to you by CSI. It is the document that allows you to remain in the United States as a full-time student. You always remember, please keep your I20 with you when you're traveling overseas and make sure that you have necessary signatures when traveling in order to come back to the United States. The Form I20 contains your information, country of birth, citizenship, also CVS number. As you see on, you always, sometimes you ask DSO, where is my CVS number? So I just would like to point it. It's on the left side of your I20, the core, it says CVS ID, and this is your CVS number, just in case you don't know where to find it. Let's go back to the next slide, please. So I20 is valid for the period of study indicated on the program of your study. As you see, program start date and program end date. So please make sure that you know when your I20 will expire. You can always see reflection of the start dates here, and don't forget to pick up your I20 when it's ready. You can always request from DSO to email to you, and when we're back on campus, 60 days, you will be able to pick up in person. Make sure that you read the page 3 of I20's instructions. And sometimes students are ignoring because they think this page is not important. Uh-oh, what happened? It is the document that allows you to remain in the United States as a full-time student. You always remember, please keep your I20 with signatures when traveling in order to come back to the United States. The Form I20 contains your information. See on you always, sometimes you ask DSO, where is my CVS number? So I just would like to point it. It's on the left side of your I-20, the cover. It says CV's ID, and this is your CV's number, just in case you don't know where to find it. Let's go back to the next slide, please. So I-20 of your study, as you see, program start date and program end date. So please make sure that you know when your I-20 will start date here, and don't forget to pick from DSO to email to you, and we'll be back. The page 3 of I-20 is instruct. They think this page is not important. Oh, what happened?
Oh, the PowerPoint's still up, Elizabeth.
So employment, and keep your passport fit. I imported regulate about it. New I-20. What do you think, guys? Yeah, when you finish one program, your I-20 is receive new I-20 with new program and new program. I'm on the question number 2 right now. You hear me? The loss of your and sub imported regulation. I'm going right now to question number 2. I am a transfer student who wants to renew my driver license, but I have my I-20 is not issued for a complete calendar year. What do I do? So technically, if you are transferring from another school, the old I-20 is no longer valid. When you transfer from one school to another, you will obtain new I-20, and then you will be able to renew your driver license. However, remember that I-20, especially here in Illinois, must be valid for at least 6 months in order to renew driver license. You can always go to Illinois cyberdriverillinois.com, Department of Driver License, and you can check those information. If you have questions, you can always go in person and ask them if, with your I-20 if you will be able to renew I-20s. We can go to next slide. What legal changes must a student inform student who want number 2 right now? You hear me? I'm going right now to question number 2. My I-20 is not issued for a complete. Technically, if the old I-20 is no longer, you will obtain new I-20 driver license. However, it must be valid for at least 6 months in order to Illinois CyberDrive, and you can check those information and ask them if, with your I-20 if change of status. Just remember, it's important to inform school. Why is it so important? Because let's say you change your email address or phone number, and maybe you're not attending, and there is urgent message that needs to be passed to you or informing that you need. Let's say you change your email address to attend classes, but we are not able to reach you. It might be, it might be jeopardizing your F1 status. So please keep in mind. Also, if you change your status, please provide the documentation to DSO and communicate with DSO in order to move forward. Maybe, if you need drop from school, we will help you with that. Next slide, please. Why do I need to report any changes in address or contact information to CSI? As I mentioned earlier, it's important for us to have current information to move forward with that. Next slide, please. The changes in address or contact. It's important for us to have current services for just in case we need to communicate in some urgent matters, for example, or other situations. We have the most current information from you. F1 students can only legally employed in the following situation: on-campus employment, CPT, curricular practical training, OPT, optional practical training, and economic hardship. On-campus employment must take place on school's campus. So if you are interested and you would like to find employment at CSI, you can always contact our human resources and check if there is any position open available. Student may be employed up to 20 hours while school in session and full-time more than 20 hours a week while on a break. Student must obtain this type of employment and as well supportive letter for Social Security number. Economic hardship. Economic hardship, if you're suffering from severe economic hardship due to unforeseen changes in your financial circumstances, you may apply to USCIS for off-campus employment. CPT, curricular practical training, is required as a part of your curriculum, which is part of your program, and type of employment which requires a DSO authorization. CPT is not work. It's considered as an externship training and must be directly related to the program of study. So please remember that. Student may begin CPT only after receiving an update I20 with CPT authorization and employment information on I20, trained on the second page of your I20. OPT, optional practical. Student may begin training is offered at CSI after completion of the program. Student will apply to USCIS for optional practical training by submitting certain documentation, but about that we can talk. OPT. You can always contact DSO and ask those questions. Next slide, please. To USCIS for option. CPT is training that is by submitting certification authorized by the DSO. CPT is not work or employment. It's externship and training. Next slide, please. Major area of study. F1 student must be enrolled for one full academic year. It is authorized before they are eligible. CPT is not work or employment. A student may begin CPT only directly related to the student's major after receiving an I20 form with a DSO signature. Next slide, please. Case with a second CPT, so begin CPT only after receiving an I20 form with a DSO signature. And the second CPT start at the same time. The student has to have the DSO service approval for both CPTs. Case B. And the student has second CPT start later than the first CPT, the student has to DSO service approval for second CPT as well. So for example, let's say students start CPT on September 28th, it was part-time CPT, and would like to and find another to have to DSO service approval for second. So for example, let's say student, so as well as a first time, student needs to apply for second CPT and DSO needs to externship and would like to authorize the second CPT with a later day in CVs in order for student to start the CPT. Case C. If student stopped first CPT and found new CPT, the student has to notify school the end date of first CPT and have the request DSO service approval for the new CPT. I hope it's clear for everybody. So for example, if you have CPT and for some reason you will be not able to longer work there because after 2 weeks you finish your employment there, you are responsible to notify school about end of CPT, so we have to stop your CPT in CVs. And then student can look for another externship and submit another externship with a new date, with new employment. Next slide, please. Curricular practical training, CPT. Student must provide copy of second page I20 with CPT authorization to employer, proof of authorized employment, so which means that student is approved to work. When students transfer out to another school, CPT will be automatically ended. So please keep in mind, if you have current CPT and if you decide in the middle of quarter change and transfer to different school, and the moment that your service record is transferred, your CPT is ended. Next slide, please. Optional practical training, called OPT. Optional practical training is temporary employment that is directly related to F1 students' major area of study. Eligible students can apply to receive up to 12 months of OPT employment authorization after completion of business career program. While on F1 OPT, the work performed must be directly related to students' major area of study. OPT is approved by USCIS, not DSO from CSI. Students will need to apply to receive approval from USCIS. The OPT application packet must be submitted to USCIS 90 days prior to the completion of the program, student program, or also within 60 days after program completion. USCIS, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. No classes or tuition payments during OPT are required for students. So basically, if student is approved for OPT, does not need to attend school. Next slide, please. OPT eligibility. Student is eligible to apply for optional practical training if the student has been a full-time student for 1 academic year, completed all coursework required by the program end date, is in good academic standing, holds valid F1 status, the student's proposed employment relates to the student's major area of study. Next slide, please. When can I start OPT? So as I mentioned, optional practical training is approved by USCIS. Until you do not have approval notice and employment authorization documents on your hand, you will not be able to start your OPT. How can I start the OPT process? When student is enrolled in business career program with different concentration, student can apply the earliest 90 days before program end date. So when you are, let's say, on the 6th or 7th module of your program and you are interested to apply for optional practical training, you can contact DSO and inform that you are interested to applying for PT. You will receive information how to apply, what documents you need to submit. Next slide, please. OPT application process. So if you are already by the end of your program and you decide to apply for OPT, you will go to CSI student portal, click on OPT link and log in with your student ID as usual as a password. There is a button called OPT. Next slide. OPT application process. So you will see this information, review of everything which is there, review OPT application eligibility, submit OPT form. You will complete the form with your information, passport number, I-94 information, and you will see those 3 buttons. When you complete that, you submit OPT form. And after you already approved for OPT, you will have 2 additional buttons that you will use in the future. The second one, AD, this is the button when you will send a copy employment authorization document. And after you have already job offer from your employer, you will also submit job offer through employment button. Next slide. Traveling. It's very important topic right now since we have this situation with COVID-19. It's a little bit difficult right now to travel, and I'm sure you're all aware of this. In order to be able to return to the United States, you must have your I-20 signed by designated school official before you travel. Your passport should always be valid while you are in the US. If you notice that your passport will expire within 6 months, you can renew your passport while in the United States, and this can be done through your country's embassy. So please remember, your passport has to be always valid. And we understand that right now, some embassies may be closed or it takes a little bit longer to renew the passport, but please keep eye on your passport expiration, and you should apply for new passport as soon as you notice that, let's say, it's less only 6 months or so. Next slide. You are not authorized to travel when class is in session. You are only advised to travel on school breaks. In the event of emergency or special situation, make an appointment with both academic dean and DSO. The dean will advise you from academic perspective, and DSO will advise you on travel. So please remember, before you decide to travel, you should consult with DSO about the dates when you should travel, because as we mentioned earlier, you're not authorized to travel when class is in session. So it would be good before you buy a ticket, contact DSO and double check the dates that it will be good for you, and it will not conflict, with the time when class is in session. Okay, thank you. Next slide. Documents you need to re-enter to United States: valid passport, unexpired F1 visa, Form I-20 signed by DSO on page 2 and valid for the last 12 months or 6 months for RPT travelers, documentation of financial support, name and contact info of your DSO at your school, proof of full-time enrollment, letter from CSI, and your address in the United States. Next slide, please. When entering the US from abroad, every individual will be subject to questioning by US Customs and Border Protection, CBP officers. Please note that CBP officers have the authority to decide whether or not you are admissible to the US. This decision is based upon facts and circumstances presented at the time you apply to enter. CSI cannot guarantee that you will be admitted or readmitted to the United States. Next slide. Reasons why an F1 student might be denied at the port of entry. The CBP discovers that the student has a criminal background, the F1 visa has lapsed, the visa typically lapses 60 days after graduation, the student did not pay the CV fee, the student doesn't have a valid passport, the student has failed multiple courses, the student has not been attending classes, the student is working and the work is not authorized, the student presents fraudulent documents, the student's schedule is considered part-time, must be full-time for F1 students, the student's travel documents are invalid, the student's travel documents cannot be verified. So please keep in mind before you travel, make sure you have all documents valid, and if you're not sure, you can always contact your DSO and she will explain, answer any question that you might have before you travel. Okay? Next slide, please.
Hey, Elizabeth, before we
Yes.
jump to the next slide, we got a question from a student about I-20. They said,
Yes.
so we should have our I-20s in hand, right? So I'm assuming they're asking for like when they go to look for jobs, or maybe the student can maybe expand on their question a little bit more so we can understand how.
Yes. So basically I-20. So if you're coming from abroad, you were receiving, we call this initial I-20 to enter United States. When you become a student, your record is activated and you're receiving continued attendance, we call this active I-20. So basically, as soon you will not receive active I-20 until you fully enroll and register. What does it mean? Which means you pay for your classes and you start attending. When this all happening, DSO checking the Grad Pro and make sure that you started and you pay the fees. And after that, the student's record is activated and students is able to receive active I-20. And yes, students should request I-20 and should always have with him, with her, because in certain situation, like if you would like to apply for driver license, you need to show your status and you need to show your I-20. If you will be traveling, you need to have I-20, but of course DSO needs to authorize the travel, so I-20 will be signed by DSO. Yes, students should have I-20, active I-20 on the hand. So after we start activating students' record, DSO will be providing students with active I-20s.
And right now, students should expect to get their I-20 to their student email address, correct?
Yes, student will be, since we're working right now from home, we're not able to provide physical copy because we're not on campus at this moment. Until we go back on campus, we will be emailing students electronic signing I-20s. And it should be happening within next 2-3 weeks. As soon as we close registration, DSO will be able to activate all the students' records, and based on, after that, we will be able to email students I-20. So please be patient. It's going to happen.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Another question? Anybody else?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Any more questions, guys?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Yeah.
hi, Goran.
Hi. Yeah, I was listening closely about the traveling situation. I was enrolled at Skokie campus at skill building program, and
Yes.
I was awarded, I believe, OPT after it, and it recently expired. I was thinking to go back, to my country, but I now enrolled the other class at this at this campus. What was the location?
Are you Skokie, Chicago?
I was there. I transferred to, what was that, Wheaton or I don't know. It's closer to
Lombard
my home.
campus? Are you in Lombard campus?
Yeah, Lombard. Yeah. So
Yes.
that one was way closer to my home, but I didn't realize we will have Zoom classes. It doesn't matter. So now I'm wondering about can I travel at all? And would you suggest it? Because I'm enrolled in a new course, and I haven't received the new I-20. I know that's one of the things I should have, in order to travel. And like you said, we will be getting those in next 2-3 weeks. So I'm not in rush to go home, but it's been 2.5 years, and now I'm wondering, do I have the legal basis to go to back to my country for, let's say, a month and come back? I know that I'm supposed to be here for the classes. I won't be skipping the classes, to travel there. So I'm just wondering about the legal basis of me being able to go somewhere and then, return. I know that you guys cannot guarantee the return or anything, but do I have the right to travel at all at this moment? That was the question. Okay,
Goran. So basically, I need to check your documentation if you still have F1 valid visa and so on. Secondly, due to the COVID-19, there is a travel ban from many countries, and people from many countries cannot enter the United States. I will have to check on your country because we cannot travel anywhere. And from experience, we have few students who travel during COVID-19 to the home country. They were not allowed to come back. So at this point, we do not advise to travel at this moment. Secondly, you can always contact me at 847-463-5096. I will need to check your visa and we can discuss what's happening in terms of travel to your country and come back, okay? Because as I said, there is a travel ban and it's not lifted yet. So we will need to check that. There were not, at this point, we do not advise to travel.
Thanks so much. I appreciate
You're welcome. But you can call me and we can discuss further the option for you to travel, okay?
Thanks so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. At 847-46 visa and we can discuss what's happening, okay? Because as I said, there's
Yeah, I believe that.
Anybody else? Hello?
We can still hear you. We're just checking to see if there's any other questions before we can proceed. Okay, we can continue the presentation, Elizabeth.
Okay, yes. Go ahead please go to the next slide. So what is DHS Trip? DHS Trip is a single point of contact for US and non-US citizens who have inquired or seek resolutions regarding difficulties they experience during the travel while undergoing screening at transportation hubs, such as airports and train stations, or while crossing US borders. If you have difficulties with admissibility, you can send requests through DHS Trip, which is Department of Homeland Security, Travel Readiness and Inquiry Program. So basically, if you're experiencing problems on port of entry, and if a student is sent back to the home country, you think it's without the right reasons, you can always submit the trip and ask for explanation. And if you think it's without, ask for explanation through this DHS trip. Hopefully you don't have to. Okay, next slide, please. Do I need visa to travel within US? No, you don't need a visa, but if you're traveling, let's say we call this to West states like California or Arizona, we suggest to have I-20 with you. I have a visa in my passport. What do I need? Why do I need I-20 to travel abroad? So basically, if you have visa, it doesn't mean you are full-time student or F1 student holding F1 status. So I-20 is showing that you are enrolled currently into a program and you are in valid F1 status. That's why you need to show your I-20. Next slide, please. Program extension. You must pay close attention to the program completion date indicated on your I-20. If F1 status will end on the program completion date, your F1 status will end on the program completion end date. A student who is unable to meet the program completion date on Form I-20 may be granted an extension by the DSO if the student has continually maintained status and the delays are caused by compelling academics or medical reasons, such as program retake or documentation. So for example, if you know CSIR quarters or have failed 1 or 2 quarters and would like to complete the program successfully. In this case, student is eligible to apply for extension. You need to contact student services and make sure that is in cycle to get the extension, and then DSO is able to extend your I-20 for the time that you need to complete your program. Okay, next slide, please. Leave of absence. We call this LOA. If student has medical situation or illness, the student might be eligible to apply for leave of absence for full quarter. Student must provide medical note from licensed doctor or letterhead, which certifies the medical condition as well as indicates the length of time the student will not be able to attend school, and before DSO will approve this medical leave, it has to be reviewed, and then student will be able to have a medical to attend school and leave from school. So for example, if you have serious and you think that you will be not able to attend classes, and if your doctor advises you to stay at home, of course, student needs to provide medical note, and then to DSO, to student services, and then we will review and then approve. So for example, if you have medical leave, have serious, okay, next slide, please. If your doctor didn't apply and approve for leave of absence, student needs to stop CPT. So for example, if you are medical note to DSO, to student services, and then we will you will need to stop your CPT because you will be not attending. Okay, next slide, please. Attending school and you have medical condition, so obviously you won't be working. So you need to remember that. Leave of absence. Can you go back to the previous slide? I did. Student. Okay. When student return from leave of absence, student needs to resubmit CPT if it's required. So if you were previously on you will need to stop your CPT because you will, when you're coming back to school, obviously you won't be working. So you need to remember, and you will need to resubmit your CPT because the CPT which you had is already stopped, finished, ended. Can you go back to the previous slide? Absent, the student has to return to school on time. So if student failed to return from, if it's required, so if you were of absence on time, she will be terminated and should apply for reinstatement. So remember, if you approve for 1 quarter for leave of absence, student and needs to inform school that's coming back. So next quarter, technically you're supposed to go back to school unless you're providing a total medical note, and you will be approved for second leave of absence. But in this case, if you're coming back, you contact student services, you have informed that you're coming back. Okay, so please remember that. Next slide, please. If my I-20 expires soon, when should I meet with a school representative? So remember, if you enrolled last year in fall and your I-20 will expire in fall this year, you should contact a representative, I would say at least a month before, because if you will be staying at CSNU and changing program, you will need to provide financial documents, and it takes time. You need to go to the bank, you contact, get the statement, or if you have sponsor from abroad, you need to ask your sponsor to go there to the financial institution, and it doesn't happen within 1 or 2 days. Sometimes it takes a week or 2. So in this consideration, please, at least a month or 2 before your program end, you can contact international admission representative and start the process of changing your program. What is the 60 days grace period? When you successfully complete your program at one education institution, you are given 60 days grace period. That if you will be means that within 60 days you must go into another institution, change your status, or depart from the United States. If you do not make any action, your status will be completed. Students who drop out of school or who are out of status are not given 60 days grace period. Next question. Next slide, please. Your sponsor to go there to the financial institution, and it takes at least more. How much, please? Can you go to next of changing slide, please?
Yeah, yes, I'm sorry. Your mic cut out a little bit.
Oh, 60. What should I repeat?
No, that was, I think we're okay for right now.
Okay. So another question. My I20 will expire next year, but I finish this quarter and plan to transfer out. Do I have 60 days grace period? No, you do not. As I mentioned on the previous slide, students who successfully complete full audit program is entitled to have 60 days grace. If you do not make any action, your status would period. So if you finish only one quarter at CSI and you would like to go back to your home country or transfer to different school, you will have only 15 days to do so. So please keep in mind, 60 days is only granted for students who successfully completed a program. Next slide, please. Yes, let us know about your experience.
So thank you so much for presenting that information to our students.
My pleasure.
So right now, Elizabeth, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the students, do we have any questions on any of the topics that were presented?
Yes, please let us know if you have any questions. We'll be more than happy to answer them. If you would like to speak with me directly in private, you can call me at 847-463-5096 if you have questions that you would like to discuss.
Yeah, so let's see. I just want to see.
Or you can also email me at eturek@csinow.com. I don't know if you can provide this information, Maurice, somewhere with my recent information. If student would like to, yes, if student would like to contact me, please, you can do so. I can answer any questions you have and concerns.
Absolutely, yeah. I will put your email address in the chat area. But if anyone has any questions right now, let's go ahead and take those.
I do have it.
Perfect, go ahead.
Actually, I have a duration status with I20. So I just wanted to know what is it? Does it expire anytime? Like, I mean, in my previous school, I was informed that until I keep studying, it's valid. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, repeat that last part of your question. We missed the last part.
Okay, sorry. I have a duration status with my I20. So I just wanted to know that, does it mean that until I keep studying, it will continue, or does it have, all the I20s do have expiration date? Because
hi, Bhumika. So no, DS duration of, okay, I know what she means. So basically, duration of status, if you have F1 visa and you have stamp in your passport, it means you are allowed to remain in United States during the time if you are invalid F1 status, which means duration of status, which means if you enroll and you're attending school, you're keeping your F1. Yes, if students, please, you can issue for duration of program, not for answer any questions you have. And Mika, so no, this is DS duration. Okay, I know what she means. So basically, F1 visa, and it means during the time, if means duration of status. Attending school, you're keeping your F1 status for duration of status. Each school have different. At CSI, all programs are issued how long your I20 will be valid, length of I20. So as long you might keep enrolling in programs, you are in duration of status, which means you're maintaining your F1 status. but I-20 is issued for the length for the.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
I have another question. What
Hi,
if you change your
Patricia.
Hi? What if you change your status here? What if you change your status here and you don't have the F1 stamp, but it says like until starting date and then on the till the end of the period.
So yes, so what's
But
the difference? So students who are coming from abroad with F1 visa, they have visa issued for a certain period of time, and visa allow them to travel. So until duration of the visa, students who have visa in the passport are allowed to travel back and forth to the home country. Students who arrive to this country on different status, the F1, so for example, J1 or B1, B2, and change the status here, receive approval notice from USCIS because they change the status from, let's say, tourist to F1, and they receive also the status valid from the date for the duration of status. The difference is that you are the same as you have duration of status as long you maintain your status, you are in good standing, you don't have to go back, and also your I-20 is issued for a period of time. So you enrolling in school, attending school, you're receiving I-20, you have the duration of status. The only difference is between students who have your F1 visa and students who change status. And all students who change status cannot travel back and forth because they arrive on different visa and change status here. And attending school, then as long you maintain your status, you enroll in institution, you changing your program, you keep your active I-20 valid, you are in duration of student status, you maintain your F1 status. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? You are in duration of status, you're maintaining your F1
Elizabeth, there was one other question from a student about their I-20.
Anybody else?
They changed their program.
Yes.
And they had asked, is that going to affect their status at all?
No. As long you maintain your status, which you are, because you finish one program and you decide to enroll in different programs, you're receiving your I-20 with a new start date and end date, you're maintaining your status, and you are in duration, you are in compliance.
Excellent, thank you. Any other questions from our students? So just to share, Elizabeth mentioned earlier that they are in the process of reviewing and getting I-20s sent out. I-20s are going to be sent to students to their student email address. So make sure that you are checking your student email because that should be coming to you in the next couple weeks.
So please be patient. Unless you have urgent case, you can always contact front desk and or me and request I-20 to be sent now. But as I said, we're in the process of activating students' records, and we will be sending out I-20s within 2-3 weeks.
Thank you. But yes, and she said if you have an emergency case, yeah, you can reach out to us and then we'll help you. So while we just wait to see if there's any additional questions, I've shared tomorrow's events with the group. So tomorrow we actually have a career planning workshop. We have a guest speaker, the founder of CSI will be there, Ella Zitzberg. She will be presenting on how you can prepare for future career opportunities as you know, when you are eligible for CPT. So we encourage you guys to come and attend that. That's tomorrow from 11:30 to 12:30. And I just wanted to share with the group where you can find this information outside the PowerPoint slide. So when you go to the student portal, hopefully everyone's familiar with this now. On the student portal page, there is a section for student orientation and welcome week. So just to get a quick survey here, how many of you guys have already started looking at the student portal and checking out some of those links?
I do.
Oh, good, good. Okay. So on the section where it says Student Orientation Welcome Week, you've got both Illinois and Massachusetts events. When you click on the Illinois link, it's going to take you to all the different events that are happening this week. So this is where you can find information on the different workshops that we've been hosting, along with the links to join us for those different activities. And this is where you can find tomorrow's workshop on the career planning, and then also where you can find information on today, the workshop happening later today, which is a fitness class. So if you guys want to take 30 minutes just to get a workout in, come and join us for the fitness class. And then tomorrow we've got career planning. And then Friday we've got legal services, a legal services workshop. Saturday we've got another fitness class. And then we close out Welcome Week with our final event on Tuesday, which is how to better kind of understand how to utilize Zoom and to be prepared for better academic success in your classes. So go and check out those schedules for different events along with the links as well. So any last questions before we close today's session? Oh, let's see, go ahead. So one more question, please. The insurance for students is not a must-have. No, so you're not required to have insurance. The insurance workshop this week was for anyone who was just interested in applying for it and understanding what their options were. So if you are looking for insurance while you're here studying, please reach out to studentaffairs@csinow.com. I'm going to put the email address in the chat. And then we will direct you to the insurance company that's working with our international students. But no one is required to have insurance. Any last questions? Great. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thank you for joining me and Elizabeth today to talk about the DSO office.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Elizabeth, very much for presenting. And if you guys have any questions for us,
My pleasure. Yes, please contact if you need us. Please contact, and we will help with any.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll help with any questions you guys have.
Any question.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.